Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the stream. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means? It's time for Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. And what a time it is to be an American. Well, we know a lot more than we did during class last night. There have been a lot of really exciting races and ballot measures passed. A lot of BIPOC folks and LGBTQA plus folks being elected to positions. The first non-binary state legislator was elected in Oklahoma, which is really exciting. Colorado defeated an abortion ban measure. Oregon has legalized all drugs. Florida has officially raised the minimum wage to $15, which, you know, is still laughably too low in this economy, but it's a step. There's also been a lot of disappointment, and as predicted, we are still counting votes. I feel more cautiously optimistic than I did when I went to bed last night, but as people have been saying up until yesterday and then continuing, this is going to be a long process. It's going to be a longer process than any of us want it to be. And honestly, it's a good reminder that the work does not stop just because an election happens. It doesn't. It can't. Not anymore. And I went on a nice little, not rant, just discussion in my Instagram stories today. You hear a lot of rhetoric, and I hear it less and less, thankfully. I think people are finally realizing how inappropriate, if not offensive, it is. But you hear people saying things along the lines of, this isn't America, whenever something horrifying happens. Except that it is. It is. The current person in the White House was never the cause of our troubles. He was a very unsubtle symptom of the fact that our country is built on colonial genocide and white supremacy, and apparently is really loath to give up those twin ideals of hatred and murder. What I have to keep reminding myself is that progress is made and has been made, even over my lifetime, which is not particularly long yet. It's always slower than it should be, and slower than we want it to be. And that can feel demoralizing, particularly in an era where we are very, very used to instant gratification. It can feel really demoralizing to be like, well, I put all of this effort in. Why has the better, more just world not sprung into being in front of us? And I understand, but this is a fight that began long before any of us were alive, and unfortunately will likely continue long after we are dead, even though we can see progress being made. But this has been a fight that, I have relatives going back to the late 1800s who were involved in this fight, and we're still here. There's still work to do. And yeah, that can feel really hard. So if you're feeling that right now, I feel it too. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here because in the midst of all of the anxiety and all of the stress of yesterday and the day before and anticipatory stress of the rest of the week, as we go through this process and try and come out the other side kicking and screaming with not a better world, but at least an initial sketch of a blueprint for a better world. Class yesterday was so good and so helpful, and I got to focus in on something that was it became purely moving my body around and getting exercise, and that was something that was super necessary, and I'm looking forward to it today, and I hope that it can do the same thing for you, because we all need this. We all need to be taking care of ourselves so that we can keep going out there and doing what we need to do. Starting to feel a little more optimistic as ballots continue to be counted. Yeah, that is where I am, and I'm honestly... the other thing that I hate about the modern news cycle is the fact that we are able to obsessively watch numbers like a hawk and count and recount, refresh pages over and over again. And I do not do that because it would drive me absolutely nuts. But the information that I see starting to trickle out makes me feel a little more optimistic, while also reminding me that this isn't a win. It's a start, but not a win. We have so much work to do, my friends. It does not stop with getting a slightly better human in the White House. We've got work to do. But let's start with the work that we're going to do here. Because, let's take an hour. Again, it's not that we're leaving stuff at the door, but let's take an hour and see what we can do to just focus in on exercise. And I'm willing to bet that you will get to the end of that hour and you will feel a lot better. And if you're anything like I was yesterday, you'll probably work harder than you've worked in a long time, because man, did it feel good to just go hell for leather. So yes, this is going to be, so we're out of Rocktober, farewell Rocktober, but we are going to do our week 1 Rocktober program one last time so that anybody who was following along with Rocktober gets to have that really satisfying class of, holy crap, look at how much I have improved over that month. So that's what we are going to do today. It's going to be our Rocktober class from week 1, all 2010 Tabatas, and it's going to be amazing. So let's do our pre-class checklist, my friends. Make sure you have your water. Make sure you have your speaker turned on if you're me, the teacher. Yeah, getting pumped. We've got our water. I got distracted. See, it was getting pumped and I got distracted from our pre-class checklist. We got our water. She says for the 3rd time while trying to hydrate herself. We got our comfy clothes. We got our mats over there. And if you're using a fitness wearable, let's turn them on right now to high intensity interval training. It is 71 degrees out, so I'm going to be so overheated between the lights and the heat outside and the heating in the building, which it's, the building's still on heating because it can only do one at a time. Oh man, this place. Anyway, all right, we're ready. We're here. Let's take one quick second all together. I just want you to take a big deep breath in and let it out, okay? Let's do one more. All right, we're here. We're going to exercise. We're together. It's going to be awesome. So let us find where our phones are. Good, that was easier than I thought it might be, so. And over to our mats. All right, we are gonna warm up. So everybody on your mat, on your back, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee. And we are starting with our hip rocks and bridges. As soon as you hear that horn, here we go. Okay, so we are here in class doing our hip rocks and bridges, starting out our warm up. This may be a class that feels really challenging to you. You know, you may be coming into this and going, man, I'm just going to count it a win if I can keep moving for most of the hour. And if that's where you're at, that is totally fine, totally understandable. You've found your success criteria, and maybe it will change over the course of class. Maybe you'll get through the warm-up and go, ooh, I've got a little energy going that I didn't have before. Maybe I can do a little bit more than I was thinking. And that's always exciting. But maybe you get to the end of class and you go, all right, well, I kept moving the whole time, and that was my goal. And then we'll say, congratulations on hitting your goal. All right, we have switched sides, still doing our hip rocks and bridges. But if you are coming into class today and you are just filled with anxious, panicky energy and you are ready to pour it all into class, A, awesome, congrats. B, remember that this is the warm-up, okay? So we do not want to be pouring all of that energy into this first 16 minutes of class, because we have another 45 minutes to go after this is done, and you want to make sure that you have all the energy you need for that. So remember that we are booting up systems right now, and as we roll onto our side and start our leg sequence, beginning with our Jane Fonda, I just want you to keep that in mind, because you know, we can get really excited and like, all right, I'm here, let's go, yeah, and love that energy. But if you ramp up to 11 in the warm-up and then suddenly, you know, you get to the last tabata of class and you're barely able to move, well, that's not necessarily an efficient use of your energy during class. So just keep that in mind. All right, we are doing our top leg lift here, keeping our body in a nice straight line, engaging the core so that our hips are not rocking either forward or back, and making sure to engage the glute on the working leg to keep that leg in line with the rest of the body. Now take that top foot, put it flat on the floor in front of your bottom knee, and we are lifting that bottom leg like this. The aspirational position here is knee pointing straight up towards the ceiling and foot completely flat on the floor. It's going to depend on your hip flexibility, how easy it is to get into this position. You may need to engage some muscles in your hip joint, so try and pull your knee back a little bit, or it may be that your knee you still need more flexibility, so you may be sort of dipping forward a bit. It's not as bad here because we're not putting pressure on this leg, but pay attention to it, because most of the time, from a form perspective, when we're doing anything with a bent knee, we want that knee to be going straight over the foot or pointing safely straight up at the ceiling. We don't like our knee caving forward. All right. Taking that top foot is now flat on the floor behind the bottom knee. Still lifting this bottom leg. This is our nice chill beach pose right here. So the easiest pose in our leg sequence. When the horn goes again, we'll turn over to the other side and we'll do all 3 of these exercises on the other side, starting back with the Jane Fonda. But this right here, we get to really enjoy. We don't have to really engage any musculature to keep the leg pointing straight up. We don't have to worry about our balance because this foot back here is keeping everything really steady. So we can focus on the leg lift and just sort of noticing all of the muscles that are engaging at each point in the lift, going all the way up to these lower abdominals right here, okay? So this is the time when we have that focus to start to notice what muscle groups engage in each exercise. All right, we are on our second side. We are back on our Jane Fondas. Again, straight line of the body. If it's hard for you to feel that on your own, you may not have the spatial awareness of your body yet where you can just get into that position and know that you're there. Use the side of your mat. Line yourself up along the straight, long edge of your mat and pay attention to the lift of your leg. When you first start engaging the glute of the working leg as you lift it, it feels as if you're pulling the leg backwards, okay? You don't actually want to pull the leg backwards, you just want to engage that glute. All right, now foot in front of the bottom knee. So you see on this side, my right hip is not as flexible as my left hip, so I have to engage some of the musculature here in my hip joint in order to pull that knee into position. Otherwise, it likes to start caving forward. And again, it's less dangerous here because I'm not putting any weight, any pressure on it, okay? So less likely that I'm setting myself up for an injury here. But when I start doing kick throughs, when I start doing squats, I want to make sure that I'm not ever letting that knee cave in towards the midline, okay? So this is a great place to start thinking about that form piece. All right, last but not least, our beach pose once again. So this is going to be our last leg move exercise, English I speak it, before we move into our opening up our backs and hips, starting with our scorpion twists. So when the horn goes off again, we'll start those scorpion twists, start waking up our backs and our hips. If you have been sitting all day or standing all day, then they will very much appreciate the assistance, the ability to move, to stretch, to open up a little bit. And yeah, if you've been feeling really bound up all day too because anxious energy, then this will be another reason why it'll be good to open yourself up a little bit. All right, so planting those forearms on the ground, and here we go, swinging first one leg and then the other, trying to get that foot flat on the floor, trying to get that knee pointing up towards the ceiling, but remembering that we're never letting our forearms come off the ground, okay? So if you can't get twisted all the way here without letting your elbow come up, then you can't twist that far yet, okay? So just recognize your current capability, and having your forearms planted also will provide you a really easy metric to check your increasing flexibility. You know, next week you may do these and notice that you can swing your knee a little bit straighter than you could the week before. So always keep that in mind. All right, grabbing our imaginary PVC pipe and doing our nice big torso rotations, changing directions every couple of rotations. Ooh, feeling a little bit of a hamstring stretch as you come through the bottom of this position. Ah, very nice, honestly, very nice. Remember that we're leading from the hips. That's where the circle is being generated. So we're not trying to move the arms anywhere. They're staying in the same position with relation to my head, no matter where I am in this movement, okay? So you're not moving the arms and then following behind. You're moving from the hips, and the arms are just coming along for the ride, okay? All right, there we go. Now, still holding our imaginary pipe, and here we go. Here's our first opportunity to check in on some of that knee form. So we're doing squats. You want your knees to be going straight forward over your feet, not caving in towards each other, okay? So if you can't squat down without your knees coming in towards each other, narrow your stance and try again and go, all right, cool. I can maintain the form correctly here. So I will stay here at this distance until I feel strong enough, and then I will try widening the stance back out again. And when I say stay there until you feel strong enough, that may be several classes, okay? So don't think that you need to go back to this distance in one day. All right, now into our Samson stretches. So this is an opportunity to really stretch out that hip flexor. So we're sinking down into this lunge. Feel the stretch. Reach those arms straight up towards the ceiling, and then stand up to the front leg and switch directions. Again, remember, your hips are staying square to the front no matter where you are in the position. We're not opening to a warrior two. All right, so imagine those headlamps on your pelvic bones. They should be pointing forward no matter where you are in the movement. All right? And just really sink into that stretch as best you can. Okay. Now for our last hip and back. We're holding this nice, deep, wide squat here. Your hands on your knees. It's going to help keep those knees safely over the feet. Again, that is where we always want them. So if you're struggling to keep your knees there, if they keep wanting to follow your shoulders in as you twist them, try turning your feet in towards each other a little bit. So you see that my feet are turned out really far. And that, I mean, I've been a dancer for most of my life, so I have that flexibility. If you need to, turn your feet in a little bit less and see if you can hold the knees there. And then again, as you get stronger, you can try turning those feet out farther again. All right. Yeah, we have reached cardio town. So this is just a small taste of what's to come for the rest of class, since this is, after all, our cardio class. But we are still ramping up, okay? We're getting closer to max energy, but we're still in the warm-up. We're finalizing, booting up all of those systems. So right now, we're really bringing our cardiovascular system online, okay? So getting those heart rates going a little faster, that breath coming a little faster, pumping oxygen more quickly through the body so it can get into those muscle fibers and help them to start breaking down their fuel sources so that we can do the rest of this. Get out of my face, hair. All right, so here we are, another opportunity to check in on that knee positioning. So each time that we do our kick through, we want to make sure that that knee is pointing straight up at the ceiling. You're not dropping your butt down to the floor like this. You want 90-degree angle, and you don't want the knee pushing forward like this, because then when you try to do the turn to the other side, you'll put some unhealthy torque pressures on your knee. So just test that as you go side to side. Remember, you do not have to go quickly. So keep checking in on the form before you try to add speed. All right, here we are, our final exercise of the warm-up, our burpees. So make sure you're doing a wave push-up, not a plank push-up. Keeping those elbows right in by the sides, and a nice big victory clap as you do the jump at the top of the position. All right, so here we are. We're at the end of the warm-up. We're about to really get going through class, and we are psyching ourselves up, cheering ourselves on for the awesome work we're about to do. All right. Good job, everybody. Let's grab some water. Woo! Water, always important, particularly important for our cardio class, and stupendously important in a week where we're all feeling heightened levels of stress and maybe forgetting to hydrate ourselves appropriately. So make sure you're drinking water. Woo! Oh man, even just that little bit of movement, you know, if you're ever having a day where you're like, I just feel like I need to move, but I don't want to do a whole class. I don't want to like leave my house for a walk. What can I do? If you have 16 minutes to do that warm-up, you know, that is great. That gives you a nice little cross-section of movement, of active stretching and cardio and strength. And if that's all you have time for in a day, that's awesome, okay? So always keep that in mind. Find little bits of things that you can carve out time for throughout your day, all right? Okay, 2010 Tabatas for the rest of class. Oh my gosh, it's going to feel so amazingly easy considering that we were doing 45-15s last week. So our first one, we've got 2 exercises and we're going 8 times through. So we're just alternating exercises each time. We've got our flying chickens. So flapping our elbows with our thumbs at chest height. If you wear a bra, you can just hook your thumb behind your bra straps. And we're just doing this nice jump, out in, out in, out in, out in, okay? And then mountain climbers, keeping in mind we want our shoulders to stay straight over our wrists and keep our butts out of the air no matter how much we're moving, okay? All right, let's get going. So everybody on your mats. And man, have I missed the Tabata timer because that first sound did not mean go. That was our stop sound. Now that is our get ready sound. So get into starting position. Hey, and we're off. And remember, 20 seconds of work. It's not a lot of time. So you can afford to put more energy into going as fast as you can for those 20 seconds. And then you get half that time back as rest. So that's the beauty and the purpose of the Tabata interval, is giving us that opportunity to sprint these exercises, basically, and really push ourselves for speed and power and intensity in a way that is harder when we're doing longer intervals. So keep that in mind. All right, back to those flying chickens, the most majestic of barnyard cardio exercises. I do enjoy them. I think just because I like the name, but remembering to keep breathing, and in these rest periods, see if you can bring your breath back under control and your heart rate back under control a little more quickly, okay? So that's what we start trying to achieve with this type of high intensity training. You know, we get our heart rate going, we go really fast, really hard for a small amount of time, and then stop, rest, and see how much we can calm, bring back under control as we get ready, and then start again and push ourselves again for speed, power, intensity. As we're doing these flying chickens, keep your core engaged, all right? You all know how important I consider the core to be. There's not a ton of form notes that I give for this exercise, but having your core engaged is basically always a good idea, and will help keep your limbs from flying in all directions. So that's your challenge for today. Even on the exercises that don't feel like they're core focused, I want you to check in and see how your core can engage with the exercise. All right, coming into your last run through these exercises, back to those flying chickens. It's a nice thing about getting to alternate back and forth is that we get that variety in. So the time really feels like it goes flying by, you know? You're like, wait, but I just started. And already I'm at the end almost. Already I'm going back in to that last set of mountain climbers. But yes, here you are. Here you are, my friends, kicking ass, taking names, and about to be done with your first Tabata of the class. So just keep pushing, keep those butts out of the air, and well done. And if you have been doing Rocktober with me over the last month, stop and pat yourself on the back, because I'm willing to bet that going back to these 2010s just feels so miraculous, so much easier than it did at the beginning of that month. And it should, and you should be proud, all right? So lots of patting ourselves on the back today. Lots of water drinking too. I can definitely tell that I have not been hydrating myself well. So do as I say, not as I do, because even fitness instructors get overwhelmed by events and don't always take care of themselves. So remember, you're a complicated houseplant with emotions. You need to feed and water yourself and get sunlight. Sunlight is important too. All right, so some of our Tabatas will have 2 exercises. Some of them will have only 1. This next one will have only 1 exercise, and it's our turtle burpee. So similar to our regular burpee, but we start with our turtle, roll onto the shoulders, up onto the feet, jump back into that plank, then do the wave push-up, jump the feet forward, and we'll just do a jump up like that. You don't have to do the clap. And then down and over again, okay? So keep your brain engaged, because this is just enough different from our usual burpee that you will probably have moments where your brain will sort of hitch and go, wait a second, what am I doing again? So this is a good way to re-engage your brain in a familiar exercise by tweaking it slightly so that it has to pay some additional attention to what's happening. And we like to do that. We like to re-engage our brains because, you know, their whole goal as we're exercising is to move as much of the processing information out of active processing, conscious processing, and into subconscious processing, which is good. It's important. It allows us to turn our brain energy towards achieving new goals and not just focusing on, wait, how do I do that exercise again? But it also sometimes leads us into plateau points where our brain just sort of settles in and it's like, all right, well, I know what's happening, so I don't have to pay attention and I don't have to put a ton of energy into it. And that is not ideal. So every once in a while, we like to have these moments where we can really, you know, wake it up, knock on the door to the brain and go, hey, there's something new that we can do here. If you want to come out and join me for it. So, whew. All right, my friends, you're on your 4th time through. Man, it feels so amazingly different to come back to these 20-second intervals after 4 weeks of consistently increasing the amount of time for our work intervals. I know that I'm feeling the difference, and I hope that you are too, because it's really kind of exciting to be like, wow, I'm feeling a lot better about this than I did at the beginning of the month. I can feel that improvement. I can feel my strength has improved, my stamina has improved, and my power has improved. That lets me go a little faster, add in a few additional reps, even in this shorter work interval. It allows me to feel a lot more confident about each component of the exercise. And an exercise like this has a bunch of components in it, and so I just feel stronger about the whole thing. And that's really cool. You know, we want to find these places where we're like, I can really tell that I have improved, that I am stronger than I was when I started doing this work. And when we find those points, always pat yourself on the back. We are so good at noticing every negative thing and not turning enough of our attention to our successes, to our improvements. And sometimes it can be hard because with fitness and with exercise, a lot of the benefits and the improvements are things that we're not necessarily going to feel actively and consciously, you know. A lot of the improvements are things that are happening internally. Chemical balancing, hormone balancing, and all of that kind of stuff. And we're not going to notice that consciously. So it can sometimes be a little disheartening when we don't feel like we're improving. But then you have that beautiful moment, you know, a month in or 2 months in, and you pay attention to what you're doing and you go, whoa, I've really improved. And that's always exciting. I like the energy. Well, thank you. Welcome to Jump Around. All right, make sure you're drinking your water, everybody. We are gonna go back to 2 exercises. All right. Woo, man. See, I'm feeling ready to just fly through class. Don't worry, you are getting your full 2 minutes of rest, I promise, okay? But our next set are 2 exercises. First one is gonna be everybody's favorite, flying scarlets. So arms in that V shape, and we're just jumping back and forth from foot to foot, trying to get those knees up above the crease in the hips. And then coming down here for our side-to-side plank. So starting in that front plank position, letting the heels drop to the side, up on one arm, the other arm comes up towards the ceiling, and then back through to the other side. Remember, our side-to-side planks, we're not going for speed, okay? Those are going for strength and stability. Really paying attention to our shoulder joints and making sure that we're keeping them nice and stable throughout the exercise. All right, everybody ready for flaming scarlets? So make sure that you're keeping those arms in that V shape. We're not letting the elbows start to sag down, okay? Keep them nice and straight, locked up, and bringing those knees up as high as you can. Again, we really want them coming up above the crease in the hips, okay? So if you're not there yet today, that's all right. But remember that that is your aspirational position, and keep working to get there over the course of class, okay? And in these side-to-side planks, yeah, you want to really make sure your shoulder is directly over your wrist and that you're really focusing on keeping that shoulder joint stable and strong, all right? That is one of my favorite exercises because it was one of my PT exercises for my shoulder injury, and it has done amazing things for helping me to strengthen and stabilize my shoulders, which are our most unstable joint. So we want to do as much as we can to strengthen and stabilize our shoulder joints because, yeah, they're designed to be super flexible, and that's awesome. But it also means that they do not have the stability and the sort of, you know, strong tree trunk approach that some of our other joints have, and that makes them really prone to injury. I was doing a CEU class the other day, and I think it was something like 35% of injuries for a certain type of bodyweight exercise were shoulder-related injuries, and that was just crazy. But it makes sense because most of us are never actually trained in strengthening our shoulders specifically. We just sort of expect it to happen through all of the other exercises that we are doing. And, you know, that's not a great way to approach it. Just as we want to strengthen and train all of our other joints, all of our other muscle groups, we want to do the same for our shoulders. So I know I focus on that a lot in these classes. You know, we have a tendency to focus on the things that we have personal experience with, right? But it's really great. It's a great thing for everyone to do, whether or not you've ever had a shoulder injury, because, you know, worst case scenario, all you're doing is improving the chances that you will never have a shoulder injury. And let me tell you, they're not fun, and I recommend avoiding them if at all possible. Speaking of, you are on your last set of those side-to-side planks. Remember, we're not going for speed. We're going for strength, stamina, stability. Doing a great job looking up towards the ceiling. Hey, nicely done. Nicely done. Yes, that is true. I am a fitness instructor. I will just take the opportunity to remind everybody that I have a zero tolerance policy for creepiness or sexualization in my chat. So just please keep that in mind. Otherwise, my lovely mod will help me out with that. All right, drink some water, my friends. How's everybody doing? Well, man, it's nice to have something to channel all of this energy into. You know, as we're just sitting around, we're waiting for ballots to be counted, and it's easy to feel so helpless because there's nothing more that I can do to help that process along or make it go any faster. It is literally out of my control. And so we have all this nervous energy and nothing to spend it on. So coming into class and just doing an awesome cardio class and really getting to take our brains out of that space for a little bit, I know it's helping me. Honestly, I'm kind of thinking about trying to do an unplanned stream tomorrow, especially if we're still in this place where there's still so much that we don't know. But I'm definitely enjoying it tonight, and I hope you are too. All right, my friends, our next two exercises. First one is going to be squat jumps. So feet about shoulder width apart, and we're just jumping up and down, okay? Keeping those knees straight over the feet. And push-ups is our other exercise. So you can do plank, you can do from the knees, you can do a wave push-up or a full plank or plank down, wave up. Any of those versions, just make sure your shoulders are staying directly over your wrists and keep your elbows in by your sides. Really focus the work on your triceps, okay? All right. So everybody back on your mats. Getting ready. Remember, squat jumps are going to be our first exercise, but that was not our starting horn. That's our get ready knock sound. Prep, and here we go. So we're just jumping up and down, making sure that every time we land, our knees are going straight over our feet. So again, if you're struggling with that, if they're trying to cave in towards each other, narrow your stance, okay? And do the jumps from that narrowed stance while you strengthen yourself up to a point where you're able to widen the stance back out towards shoulder width apart, okay? Always keep in mind that there are plenty of ways to modify exercises as we're building strength and familiarity in them, okay? So if you try a new exercise and you're not able to hold the form, don't just keep doing it, okay? Because the form is the most important component. And if you're doing 50 reps of an exercise, but with poor form, then you're training your body incorrectly. You're putting this incorrect form into your subconscious processing. So as you get fatigued, that's what your body will start to default to. And you're setting yourself up for an injury
down the road of varying degrees of severity, depending on what you're doing. So if you try something and you're like, all right, I can't quite get the form for this exact version of it, figure out what the modifications are that you can make and train towards the goal, okay? So you can have a goal, even if it's a small one, even if it's just, I want to be able to do a squat jump with my feet shoulder width apart, okay? That's a small goal, but it gives you something clear to work towards, and it gives you something to focus on as you're doing the exercise. So don't ever feel like you're supposed to just keep soldiering on, all right? If you're trying to do an exercise and you can tell something's not quite right, throw a question in chat, okay? You know, look, ask me for modifications if I haven't already given you any. And remember that I would rather that you do 2 reps form perfect than 20 reps incorrectly, okay? If we start with that foundation of form, we can do anything, but we have to start there. We have to focus our attention on that form. No matter how long you've been training, no matter how long you've been doing an exercise, always do those checks and make sure that your form is still in place. All right. Woo. I'm talking a lot, I can tell. Man, thank goodness for the water. You're killing me, Smalls. Oh, good grief. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. Oh, my loves. How's everybody doing? We are cooking with gas. We have made it very far through class. We've only got 3 more sets to do. Yeah. So, let's get set up for the next set. And you know, when I flip my mat around, what's coming down the pipeline. Of course, if you've been taking this class for the last month, you already know what this is because you've been doing this for a month. But our next set, we've got shrimps. So moving ourselves back and forth along our mat. First shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips. And when you hit the end of the mat, just start going back the other way, okay? And then our second exercise is our skips. Nice, easy, in place hopping basically, where you lift one knee and the opposite arm, hop, and then repeat on the other side. And we're just staying in place, okay? You're not trying to move around on the mat. So everybody get those last sips of water and get yourself into position. It's nice to start with the shrimps because you can just sort of sit down on the floor and prep and then get going as soon as we hear that horn. So remember, it's still a cardio class, so let's still be pushing for speed, which we can achieve with the shrimps, all right? They are an awkward exercise and they're a core exercise, but you can go for speed in terms of how many laps am I able to do back and forth along the mat. With our shrimps, we're not usually going for intensity on these. I usually use them, you know, in perpetual motion classes as an easy cardio, but you can pick up the pace, pick up the power on that hop, and do whatever small improvements you can do to bring a little more intensity into it. But also, this is a nice opportunity to downshift just slightly. You know, we've been going really intensely for the entirety of class, and we've still got some intensity to go. We're definitely not done yet, but we can take this opportunity to, you know, keep pushing ourselves, but also feel the ability to let our heart rate come down a little bit. It's not going to get pumped up to the same intensity that it does on flaming scarlets or flying chickens or burpees, you know, and that's fine. A little bit of a lull before we start pushing towards our final couple of intervals, heading towards that finish line of class. And then we'll have the opportunity to do some good stretches, cool ourselves down a little bit, and then hopefully you'll all be able to go and have excellent dinners, depending on what time it is, wherever you're taking class, and have a good post-workout shower, because that is just always a really important part of the process, right? We love that post-workout shower. All right, remember to keep that core engaged. Again, remember we're checking in with ourselves all through class today. How am I engaging my core even in exercises that don't seem like they're really core focused? All right, you can find the utility of that core engagement in just about everything that you do, I promise you. So just keep checking in on that. Obviously, in the shrimps, it's pretty easy to pick out because that's a core exercise. So, you know, you're not gonna have to look too hard to be like, I wonder how my core helps me in this core focused exercise. But here, doing something standing position with jumps, just think about the ways that all of these stabilizing muscles pull together to help you go through the motion as a more cohesive unit rather than as a disparate series of limbs, each trying to go in their own direction. All right? And this is how we learn more about our bodies. All right. Who's winning the election so far? Well, you probably have more up-to-date info than I do. There is optimism for Biden, is the last I knew of. Okay, friends. And yes, it's an important question, and it's important that we keep paying attention, you know? While I do love to come into class, looks like Biden is slowly pulling ahead, but yeah, that is the impression I have. And look, you know, I like to use class as an opportunity to center myself and sort of be present in the space. And I think it's really useful to do that. But it's also important to remember that we can't let ourselves get fully removed from everything that's happening and everything that we have to do, particularly for us white folks who are very good at sort of doing the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil bullshit. It's a good reminder that, you know, we do need to keep paying attention. And when we're done with class tonight, in addition to eating food and having that shower, we need to check in on our communities. We need to check in on the races close to home and see where they are. We need to see what what protests, what gatherings are being planned. We need to figure out how we can support, how we can assist. And it's important for us to keep that in mind no matter what, all right? But first, before we do that, we got 2 more sets. So, second to last set. I need to remind myself. Okay, so first is going to be our front superhero. This one is going to be the pulsing front superhero. So we're going to extend our legs, extend our arms, lying on our stomachs, lift everything up and down, up and down. So we're going and we're just lifting our legs, arms, and chest up and then lowering them, okay? And then this, I don't know why I stood up, because the second exercise, so we've already done single leg mountain climbers. Now we're gonna do double leg mountain climbers. So from that plank position, I'm gonna jump both feet forward so that my knees are on the outside of each of my elbows, and then jump back to the plank. Forward, and back, okay? Still keeping that strength and stability in our shoulders, all right? Okay, everybody back on your mats and getting ready. Don't worry, that first sound still doesn't mean go. So we can get ourselves prepped. Isn't it nice to have an exercise where the starting position is just lying on the floor? Hey, and here we go. So again, this is a core exercise, so it's not going to get our heart rates going too intensely, but definitely try and up the number of reps that you're able to do, and keep a consistent rhythm as well. Those are both really great ways for us to pay attention to that exercise. With our double leg mountain climbers, I want you to make sure that you're not jumping into a position and sort of bouncing there for a second and then jumping back and bouncing. You want a consistent rhythm, okay? Like that. It's hard. It is definitely hard. Now, one thing I noticed with those for myself is that I was getting a little knee twinging. So there's another version of double-legged mountain climbers where you jump forward and you have your knees go on either side of one elbow and then jump back and go to the other elbow. So if you're feeling any twinging in your knee, try that other version and see if it feels a little bit easier. And if all else fails, just do single-legged mountain climbers, okay? So if you're feeling any knee issues with the double-legged mountain climbers, and that first modification doesn't feel like it helps, just do the single-legged ones that we already did, okay? Again, we want to make sure that we are paying attention to the modifications that we may need. And, you know, we've already talked about modifying because we do not currently have the strength or the stamina for the aspirational exercise, but there's another reason why we may need to modify an exercise, and that is our injury history. You know, and that is where your knowledge of your body and its ability, its strengths, and its weaknesses is really important, because at the end of the day, I don't know that information. Okay? I only know that information for myself. You are the one who knows that information for you. So it's really good practice for you to understand what modifications you may need to make in general to exercises based on your own injury history, okay? And that could be any number of things. It could be lessening the intensity that you're putting into the exercise, or it could be a shift in the positioning, or it could be I have to do a different exercise that hits the right muscle groups, but that is easier on the injured area. This is all information that is super important for you to learn for yourself, especially when we're here, you know, we're doing class on Twitch. I'm not in the room to be paying attention to your form and answering those questions in person. So the more of this kind of stuff that you can learn for yourself, the more successful your exercise will be, all right? And the less time you'll lose to injury recovery, which is, it's always really frustrating when we have to stop our fitness and stop our exercise or stop our preferred activities because of an injury, okay? So if you think I focus on form too much, that's really at the core what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you be active and mobile for as long as you want to in your life while minimizing the likelihood of injuries, okay? Oh man, friends, we've made it. We've made it to the final Tabata. Holy crap. And this last one is going to be burpees. You all know what I want out of burpees. We did them in the warm-up, so I know you're all set. These are just going to be 20-second sets, 8 times through. So it's going to be even easier than the warm-up, right? Totally. Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be easier than the warm-up. But you know what we're looking for? You know how to do them. The wave push-up, not a plank push-up. That is not what we're doing. Remember, your brain might hitch a little bit as we're starting this because we did the turtle burpees at the beginning of class. So just remember to recalibrate into our regular burpee structure. But this is our final set. So remember, whatever energy pockets you've got left, whatever energy pockets you've been saving, it's time to use them, all right? We have made it to the end of class. We do not need to be saving energy for anything else. We're here, and it's time to lay it all on the mat. Leave it all here. No matter what, we are through an hour of class, and that is absolutely amazing. And you should be incredibly proud. Woo! How are those victory claps feeling? You want to make sure that you're really cheering yourself on here. Because we need to learn how to be good cheerleaders for ourselves. And doing our victory claps at the beginning is a fine way to start learning that skill. All right, my friends, here we are. The final set, 4 minutes, of which not all 4 of those minutes is even exercise. So we've got so little time. You have so much energy, and you can absolutely just pump it all into these last burpees, okay? We are not holding back. We don't have to manage anything. We're not trying to get to the end of class because we've made it to the end of class, all right? If we were running a race, this is us going down the final stretch, circling the Capitol building, and seeing the finish line in sight with all of our friends and loved ones there to cheer us on as we round up and really put that final energy into it. So now is our time. We are halfway through these last burpee sets. So now's the time. We got our cheerleader. We put them on the ground next to our mats, next to our computer, our TV, wherever you have the stream running. They are doing their best floor routine. They're throwing pom-poms everywhere, and they are so proud because you came to class, you turned on the stream today in the face of so much that is happening, so much that we have to focus on, and that is stressing us out and making us scared or angry or sad. You still turned on this stream and you set yourself up here and you took an hour to take care of your health and your fitness. And that is so incredible, and it is so important. And I want you to recognize how important it is that you do that you come here, join me on these classes. We take care of our health, both physical and mental, so that we can get out there and do whatever else needs doing. All right, these are our final 20 seconds. So I want big burpees. I want a nice big hop at the top with that victory clap. Strong wave push-ups, as many reps as you can get in. And then pat yourself on the back, both shoulders. Holy cow, good job, everybody. All right, let's do some stretching. Whew. Okay, man, I'm gonna take us right down to the floor actually. Let's do some quad stretching to start with. So for whichever leg we're working on, you're gonna fold it so that the heel is on the outside of the hip, but then pull the heel up as close to the hip as you can. Your other leg, just let the knee fall open. I've got my foot next to this knee. Whatever you do as you're getting in a position, don't let this knee start pulling up from the floor, okay? And we're going to just let ourselves backwards, only as far as we need to feel a nice intense stretch in the quad. So if that's here, that's fine. Or maybe it's here, or maybe it's all the way down on the floor. Wherever it is, move slowly into position. Don't rush, don't push yourself down there. You want to make sure that you're not sending signals to this muscle to activate it, because then it'll start trying to contract. It'll start trying to do a concentric muscle action, and we want it to do an eccentric muscle action. We want it to lengthen. All right, so once you are settled into your position, we're just going to take 4 deep breaths. All right, and each time you inhale, I want you to visualize all the oxygen going to wherever you're feeling the most intensity of sensation. And every time you exhale, I want you to try to settle a little bit deeper into the stretch. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right, slowly and carefully and not very gracefully, back up to seated. Take one hand to the knee, one hand to the ankle, and unfold the leg with your hands, not with the leg itself. And both legs stretched out in front of you. Just shake those knees out a bit. Flex your feet and point and flex and point and circle the ankles, first one direction and then the other direction. All right, and now other side. All the same form notes apply. Again, we're moving nice and slowly into the stretch so that our muscle never feels the need to try and tighten up, okay? So just let yourself settle for a second when you get to that position. And remember that you do not need to push yourself to get into a lower position, okay? You want to pay attention to where your body's at, where your flexibility is at. So don't go trying to rip that muscle apart in an effort to get more deeply into the stretch, okay? Your body will tell you where it can go. And part of the purpose of these nice deep breaths is to give you an opportunity to try and sink a little lower into the stretch. So here we go, 4 deep breaths. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right. Slowly and carefully back up, using our hands to unfold the leg in front of us. Shake out those knees, flex the feet, and point, and flex, and point, and circle the ankles in one direction, and then the other direction. And now, let's turn and let's do, sorry, just putting these damn puzzle pieces back together, good Lord. Let's get into that butterfly pose, okay? So soles of the feet together, letting your knees just fall open, all right? And we are going to fold forward over the feet, but remember, we don't want to just dive the head down, because what's going to really intensify the stretch in our hips is getting our lower back closer to them. So I want you to take basically a flat back position, walk forward as far as you can, and then let the upper back fold over as well. And that will help get gravity involved so it can keep pushing the lower back a little bit lower, and you really feel that intensity of stretch in the hips. So here we are, feet together, flat back position. Walk yourself forward, just one hand at a time. And when you can't go any farther, let your head and upper back fold over. Shake out your head a little bit just to make sure you're not clenching it or stiffening the neck. And again, let's take 4 deep breaths here. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And we can roll ourselves back up. Just let the knees bounce a little bit. You'll notice differences in flexibility in the hips will cause differences in how far out your knees are able to go. So you see my left knee is practically down on the ground. My right knee still has some distance here because this hip is a little more bound, a little less flexible. All right, for our last stretch, let's everybody lie down on your back and pull your knees in to your chest. You've got your arms wrapped around them. Rock back and forth just a little bit because you can feel some nice stretching out in those hips. And then we're going to let one leg extend all the way forward, so it's lying on the ground. Take that other knee and fold it over the body. Oh yeah. We're trying to keep our shoulders flat on the ground, so I've extended my arms in either direction, and I'm going to look away from this knee to help keep this shoulder flat on the ground and help intensify the stretch, the twist in my back, okay? So again, let's take 4 deep breaths here. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And now you can let your head roll back up towards the ceiling. Bring that knee back in, other knee to meet it. Rock back and forth a little bit. And then let's do the other side. So extend that other leg along the floor. Twist this knee across. Oh, if you feel a little popping along your spine, enjoy the at-home chiropractic adjustment. Face your head away from the knee that's stretched. And again, let's take 4 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Back up to center. Rock back and forth a little bit. You can do happy baby pose if you've done that in yoga. Otherwise, let's just sit back up and we are done. Oh, all right, my friends. Yes. Good job. Good job, everybody. Oh, I guess I can stop that timer. Oh, man. What a good class. What an intense class. And so exciting to go back to what we were doing in week 1 of October and feel the difference. How much easier was that? How much more stamina did you feel like you had? How much more ability to put additional power into the exercises? I love that comparison. I'm really glad we're doing it this week. Starting next week, we'll have all new classes again and for a little while. And that will be exciting too, because variety is a really wonderful component of exercise programs. But it's nice to have this sort of through line for the last month and change, where we can really see how far we've come and just be really proud of ourselves. Make sure you are drinking plenty of water. If you haven't finished your water bottle yet, please finish it now while I'm chattering on at the end of class. And then make sure to refill it and drink more, okay? Hydration, hydration, hydration. So important. Friends, I'm really glad that we gathered here for class today, and I hope you are too. I hope that this helped you to really center yourself in on an activity that's completely focused on taking care of yourself and your health, both mental and physical. I hope that this helps to energize you, to get you through the rest of this week. It has been incredibly stressful, and it's only Wednesday. And there's more to come. There's more that we need to get done. And you know, we all still have personal lives. There's still a pandemic on. Boulder County has just gone back to safer at home regulations, you know, which is necessary, but is definitely disappointing, particularly for those of us who've been really trying to take quarantine seriously for the last 7 months. And yeah, there's a lot that feels demoralizing. I totally understand. And it can be really hard to make it through. But you just showed up. You did a badass hour-long class. And that is something you should be really proud of. And I'm glad that you joined me. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. We've got 2 more classes this week. Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, we've got Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is Weekend Kickoff, which is our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. So definitely come back and join in for those. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be in my end card, but they're all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel, Blanche Case Fitness, is where the VODs from these streams are uploaded. There's also going to be a lot of supplemental content going up there over the next few months, so definitely head over and subscribe if that's your jam. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account, Blanche Case Fitness. Donations are always appreciated. And if you want to help keep growing this community, growing this channel, having a place for exercise that will hopefully continue to build on content as we go along, then please do follow this channel. Tell your friends, tell your loved ones, your coworkers, anybody looking for a good workout. Please stay safe. If you're going out to any protest actions, make sure you have your mask, make sure you have hand sanitizer, make sure you have water, make sure you've taken all appropriate precautions for any police brutality actions. And take care of yourselves, take care of your communities. Remember to breathe, remember to hydrate, and I will see some of you back here on Friday. Have a great night.